Boom! Welcome back to the channel, guys. Today I'm giving my fight prediction between the upcoming fight this weekend with Frank Martin and Nahir Albright. If you like this type of content where we predict boxing matches and break down these fighters, leave a like, subscribe to the channel, and let's get right into this, guys. I love this fight. Right here, this fight kind of represents the theme of this year thus far with boxing, right? Competitive matches. And they don't necessarily have to be 50-50. But if you want to look at these two fighters and say this is a one-sided match, then you, my friend, might not know boxing as well as you think. Nahir Albright is a very capable fighter. And what I love about this guy, right, is that he's been put up to the test twice. And he failed twice, right? Against Jermaine Ortiz and against Keyshawn Davis. But then he went and fought Keyshawn Davis' brother Kelvin Davis and showed, hey, I'm not really a B-class fighter here. Yeah, I haven't beat the elite yet. I've hung in there. But with Kelvin Davis, he showed, hey, you know what? At the bare minimum, he is a B-level fighter. At the bare minimum. And he has very good fundamentals. If I had to rate all of his attributes across the board, you know, his jab, his power, his speed, his IQ, all of it is kind of like a B level, and he's pretty athletic too. And I heard that he took boxing up at a late age, so I think he's only getting better and better. On the other side, we have Frank Martin. Frank Martin has fallen short at the top level too. Now, he hasn't had as many opportunities on that level as Nahir Albright has, but he also went even higher and fought Gervonta Davis when he was almost basically at the peak of his career, as opposed to Jermaine Ortiz and Keyshawn Davis are kind of still climbing, especially Keyshawn Davis, right? But Frank Martin went up against Gervonta Davis, and he did solid, all right? Exactly what was supposed to happen happened, right? He went and did a good fight early on. He used his athletic abilities. He has decent speed, and that kind of helped him out. Maybe win a few rounds early on. But then once Gervonta Davis, you know, he's very patient, figured him out. He started putting the pressure on and just slowly but surely broke him down and got the knockout victory, right? We did see him come back against Barthélemy, right? A two-division titleist who has very solid boxing skills, but clearly has seen better days. He did look really good in that fight. I liked his footwork. I liked that when he was kind of trying to figure out Barthélemy, he kind of used those like evading like movements with his feet to get to the side of him. And I think those are kind of like not forgotten, but definitely underutilized in boxing sometimes. You can only do that with a certain level of opponent though, right? If you guys are neck and neck in skill level, you might not be able to get away with that necessarily, but Barthélemy was fighting very stiff that day. But I do think that they each got a perfect opponent to prepare them for this, right? Kelvin Davis is a lefty himself, and that was Albright's last opponent. Barthélemy is an orthodox fighter with decent hand speed. That was Frank Martin's last opponent. So I think these guys are going to come in very prepared to fight each other. Now, who do I have winning this fight? I think this is a competitive match. I think that Nahir Albright is like a solid schooled fighter, and his jab is going to keep him in this fight. I think the more athletic fighter is Frank Martin, but he's developed a decent IQ with his last couple of fights, and I think that his little sneaky tactics, which aren't to undermine his skill, but his, you know, his lead left hand, the sneaky footwork he does, is gonna have him winning majority of these rounds. If the fight is close, I do think he might have the more telling punches. What I'm curious to see is, right, I want to see how Nahir Albright's power is going to affect Frank Martin, because he's a decent puncher. He's not huge. He's not a huge puncher at all. But, you know, we've seen him when he fought Kelvin Davis. He was able to stun him consistently throughout the fight. Keyshawn Davis fought a very smart fight, but he's like a freak of nature with his reflexes. He stays in the pocket and is able to counter. And I don't think Frank Martin has those same capabilities to stay in the pocket when Nahir Albright's throwing his combos and countering. I think it's going to be, I'm going to go in, throw my punches, Frank Martin, by the way. Go in, throw my punches, land them, boom, set up the next one. You know what I'm saying? And I think Albright might have a similar mindset of, okay, I need to set up my next one, but I think he'd be more willing to stay in the pocket. He is more willing to stay in the pocket. So if he can close the distance, I think he has a good shot closing the gap in this fight. If he doesn't apply the pressure consistently, Frank Martin should have an easy night winning this fight. But I don't know if Nahir Albright's going to allow him to do that for the full fight. And for those reasons, I favor Frank Martin by a small margin. But I'm not confident in this pick, guys. Nahir Albright is a very capable fighter. He showed that he can hang with the big boys, just not necessarily beat the big boys. So this will determine where Frank Martin lies in that spectrum. Is he a B+ fighter? Is he an A+ fighter? Right, as of right now, he's not an S-tier fighter. Losing to Gervonta Davis is not the end of the world. Ask Ryan Garcia. You know what I'm saying? So he could still come up and be like, yo, I'm one of these top dudes. How are you going to look? They're going to compare this to Jermaine Ortiz and especially Keyshawn Davis with a more recent performance with him. I kind of want to think that Frank Martin is a A- B+ fighter. I don't think he's beating the top dudes. 140 is stacked, by the way. So if he wins this fight, he's definitely going to get another big opportunity. But man, even like the A-level fighters are like freaking like Puello and Russell, who's also fighting on that card. You know, maybe the winners of those two fights between Andy and Russell and Albright and Frank Martin can fight each other. That would be awesome. The winner of that fight definitely earns a top spot in the 140s, at least to fight for a title. But I got to go with Frank Martin. I'm rooting for Albright. I want Albright to win. I'm not betting on this fight, but I want Albright to win. But I think Frank Martin's going to edge it out. I think he's a little bit stronger. I think he's a little bit quicker. And I would like to see him like tested in this fight and see how good he is comparable to the other guys. So that's my decision, guys. I don't think there's a knockout in this fight. There is a small chance. Again, I'm curious how Frank Martin's going to handle his power when he gets hit clean, because I do think Albright's capable of setting up good punches and landing clean on my homie. All right? But so that's a little like gray area. I'm talking like a small 10-15% chance that Albright might stun him and, you know, take him out. But I don't think so. I'm still going with Martin by decision in a competitive close fight. Unanimous decision. Guys, if you like this type of content, you like talking boxing, you like discussing, leave your opinions down below. Yo, I'm Team Albright, even though I think he's gonna lose. All right, guys, to the next one. I'm out. Boom.